Thank you. Good afternoon. Good to the members of the press who are here. Good afternoon to the nation. So again, today we thought we should update the press. As the nation is aware, this is day number 1 after the launch of the 100 Days of Hope activism. Yesterday was a very special event for the BM8 Tonse Alliance partnership, as well as the other alliance partners, including WARS, when we launched our 100 Days activism as we prepare ourselves to get to the most crucial and very important presidential and general election slated for the 13th of August 2026. I wish to start by paying glowing tribute to the senior members of our political formations who joined the BM8 movement and the Tonse Alliance yesterday as we were launching this important occasion. Your presence at this event just helped us to reignite hope in the Zambian people, that although it looks like it's very dark when it comes to democracy, especially constitutional democracy, Zambians have been able to breathe with a sigh of relief and expect that there is hope in what is going to come out of the 13th of August 2026. We can only hope that this activism is going to attract all the stakeholders from all walks of life to come and study what Tonse Alliance and BM8 movement has put before the nation as an alternative to the misgovernance that we've experienced at the hands of the UPND for the last 5 days. I must say we were very warmed up as the Tonse Alliance and BM8 movement senior leadership by even the responses we got from diaspora. We were very elated to establish that our launch was being followed real time by many of you in the diaspora, and the phone calls that you gave us to give us feedback on what happened just elevated our levels of hope as well, as we put ourselves in the center of this fight to ensure that we have an election that is going to deliver a new government to the expectation of the Zambians. So thank you very much for coming through. Today we want to make a position clear on whether Honorable Brian Mundubile qualifies to stand as President of the Republic of Zambia in the next election. We are saying this because we have received a lot of phone calls, press queries, stakeholder concerns, and just the general population very, very concerned about whether what is being said over and about Honorable Brian Mundubile, and indeed over and about anybody who is standing in the same shoes where Honorable Brian Mundubile is standing, indeed would qualify, to stand as president. We were alerted to a video that is circulating on social media, which was prepared or which was done by Honorable Kelvin Fuwe, in fact, President Kelvin Fuwe Walia of the Zambia We Want. Zambia Must Prosper, sorry. Of the Zambia Must Prosper, where I was trying to give classifications on who can qualify and who can't qualify. We have looked at that video, we have watched it repeatedly, and we've noted that although it doesn't make mention of who it was targeted at, it is very clear to draw inferences that was being targeted at somebody whose candidacy has been propelled to become the most popular candidate on the opposition front, Honorable Brian Mundubile. This especially after yesterday's launch, when we then started receiving a flurry of phone calls of people trying to ask us to respond to what Honorable Fuwe had said, whether or not indeed Brian Mundubile qualifies to stand as president. So without in any way suggesting that we are responding to Honorable Fuwe, but just in case it is what he meant, here is what our position on this candidature is as Tonse Alliance and as BM8 project. Clearly, we have said this before, that the qualification of Honorable Mundubile to stand as the president of the Republic of Zambia in the next election is not something that should even raise any questions. Nobody should be worried at all. Nobody should raise questions as to whether this individual qualifies or it doesn't qualify. Last week, we were prompted to give another press conference where he himself declared that he's available and is ready to contest this election. And he came to dispel the rumors that arose out of an AI-generated video. It was suggested that he wasn't going to stand. At that juncture, we took an opportunity to tell Zambians about the provisions of Article 100 of the Constitution that sets the qualification for somebody who qualifies to stand as president. At that occasion, I was able to tell the Zambians that, in fact, for us, we were even concerned because the people who are saying that Honorable Mundubile doesn't qualify are not the ECZ. Rather, it is mainly the cadres and followers of the UPND. Now, it is very easy to know why somebody from the UPND would say Brian Mundubile doesn't qualify. It's because he is the most formidable competitor that they have. And they would like to instigate their leadership to try and kickstart into place, you know, some technicalities that will possibly disqualify Honorable Brian Mundubile. But we want to state this as a fact. The qualification for somebody to stand as president is contained in Article 100 of the Constitution. The criteria is very simple. Anybody who is a Zambian who qualifies to be a member of parliament and meets other criteria qualifies to be the president. We have said it before here that Honorable Mundubile has been a member of parliament for 10 years. If somebody has served at the National Assembly for 10 years, surely it goes without saying that he should be able to qualify to stand as a president. The criteria that has been suggested by other people, including the clip that KBF was speaking on, is strange to what is contained in the Constitution. Whatever criteria you want to suggest, it was suggested by Mr. Fube that the ECZ and the registrar of societies are going to prescribe their own criteria. We would like to make it very clear that both the ECZ and the registrar of societies are creatures of the law. The ECZ itself is a creation of the Constitution. And one of the biggest responsibilities the ECZ have is strict compliance with the Constitution when it comes to prescribing who qualifies to be a councillor, who qualifies to be a member of parliament, and indeed who qualifies to be a president. For them to begin to suggest, as the KBF suggesting, that they can come up with their own criteria of trying to set conditions on who qualifies or terms and conditions on who qualifies and doesn't qualify is an abrogation of the Constitution. Now, we know why Zambians are worried. We know Zambians are worried because we are being led by a government that is known for breaching the Constitution with impunity to achieve the goals that they've set for themselves. We know what has happened in the last 5 years. We know how many times the UPND has abrogated the Constitution. You can start from our international relationship in the treatment of diplomats. You come to the dual carriageway between Ndola and Lusaka. You come to the debt restructuring. You come to some of the major transactions that the government has been involved in, which required, you know, parliamentary oversight and parliamentary ratification. They've abrogated the Constitution. The latest is how they passed Bill 7. You know, they did it in clear abrogation of the Constitution, to the extent that even when the Constitutional Court told them that what they were doing was wrong, they still came back with the wrong procedure until they finished what they were doing. So this, yes, indeed, can raise concern on the Zambian citizen. But we would like to, you know, seek fortitude in the provision of Article 100 of the Constitution. But let me say this, which I always say all the time. You see, a Constitution is just a mere piece of paper. The only people who give a Constitution life are the citizens themselves. When you read a Constitution and you know the rights that the Constitution confers on you, and you know the duties that the Constitution confers on those who are governing you, including the ECZ, the police, the Constitutional Court, the High Court, and any other courts, it is up to you as a Zambian citizen to make sure that for you to enjoy the rights that are enshrined in the Constitution, somebody who holds a constitutional office must discharge the constitutional function. The ECZ only needs to read Article 100 and determine who qualifies to stand, who doesn't qualify. If the ECZ participates in a scheme to oust somebody from participating in election, it becomes the responsibility of the citizens of Zambia, not only members of the PF, not only members of Tonse Alliance or even indeed the BM8 project. No. If you want a clear and credible and free independent election, it starts with how you're going to participate in ensuring that anybody who qualifies to participate is given an opportunity to participate in that election. I have said this before on media. President Hakainde Hichilema has been allowed to participate in elections a record 20 years, 15 years, 20 until when he won this election. Nobody tried to create a criteria that would have disqualified him from participating in an election. What has become new now? Why this interest of wanting to say, oh, because of this criteria, somebody must not participate? I want to make a call on the government of this republic and a call on the ECZ that you are also responsible for maintaining law and order and peace in the nation. And the elections being what they are, a very emotional experience, the responsibility falls on the ECZ to make sure that everything that is provided for in the law is to make sure that we have a free and fair election is applied. This suggestion by KBF, that the ECZ and register of societies are going to come up with their own criteria, the ECZ must distance itself from it. The register of society, we know the responsibilities that they have, okay? A president or a presidential candidate for a political party who is sponsor of a political party need not necessarily be the president of the party. That is a known fact. And we have got a history in this country. When President Mwanawasa was standing as a candidate in 2001, he wasn't the president of the MMD. He was a presidential candidate. The president of the MMD at that time was Frederick Chilo. He remained in office as president. So we had the president of the party on the one hand, and the candidate who became the president of the republic on the other hand. At that time, we didn't even have a constitution that guided. Now we have a constitution that clearly guides what should happen. Why should we create problems for ourselves? Look, I know that KBF is speaking about this because he considers Brian his competitor. But I think even when you're beginning to make these statements, you must be very clear what you would like to achieve. I think allow for the creation of a platform where everybody can participate in this election freely and fair. Let whoever is going to lose this election lose because Zambians have been allowed to go and cast a vote for themselves without creating conditions that make it impossible for somebody to participate in elections. I want to conclude by just reminding Kevin Fuwewa. He made a very frightening remark at the end of his statement when he said that, with the kind constitution of the Constitutional Court, anybody who goes to court should not expect to get justice from the Constitutional Court. We sit here, the three of us, as victims of injustice in the Constitutional Court. We know where the PF has ended up, and that was a clear case of miscarriage of justice in the courts, not in the Constitutional Court, but in the court structures of this republic. But even when we are victims of that miscarriage of justice, I would like to sit here as a lawyer and as a leader in the nation and begin to just remind the Zambian people to have hope that we can have a judiciary that is independent. You can't be a leader of a political party and come and say, as our colleague Kelvin said, that anybody who dares, take these cases to court, and with the current composition of the court, you're not guaranteed justice. I think it's an affront to the Constitutional Court, and in all fairness, I expect that in the Constitutional Court, we can have judges who know their constitutional mandate and who know their levels of accountability, and who can deliver justice to the expectation of the Zambian people. Me, as a lawyer, I would not want to join somebody who would want to just pour cold water on the whole Constitutional Court simply because the appointees that are being made now are appointees who the population has got questions about their probity, has got questions about their levels of accountability. I would like to believe that when we take matters to court, if at all we are going to take matters to court, we expect that justice is going to be dispensed. Yeah. And like people say, justice is blind. So I would not want to be one of the people that would like to begin to brand the courts as being completely biased. I have argued many times myself that there are some of the judges in the judiciary who have abdicated their responsibility because they think that they are in court to do the bidding of the political elites who are in power currently. But I have never, ascribed to an idea where you just give a blanket condemnation of the whole judiciary. You must be able to be very careful, but also you must be the one to project a ray of hope to the population that even when things look as bad as they do in Zambia, there must be some layer of hope somewhere where you can expect that if you take the matters to court, at least you're going to get a fair sense of justice. After my remark, it was agreed that Honorable Chisopa, who is in charge of the campaign of the BM8 project, is also going to make his remark and observations on what has transpired. But thank you very much for listening to me.
Yeah, so thank you so much. We've been observing of late the comments that have been coming through the social media and in the print media, and some of the excited people that no BM8 Brian Mundubile will not be on the ballot because is not one of the members on some of the political parties. But you see, sometimes you start getting worried that even educated people, I'll give an example of what President KBF said yesterday. He has the constitution in his hands. And if you read Article 100, it's very, very clear. It doesn't talk about somebody has to be a president for him to stand as the presidential candidate. It doesn't. Even if you look in other legislative pieces of legislation from the Electoral Commission of Zambia, there is nothing. Brian Mundubile has been contesting elections for the past 10 years as a member of parliament. The same qualifications that applies to a member of parliament are the same qualifications that applies to the presidential candidate. The only difference is when you talk about the age limit. That is where the only difference, because under a member of parliament, even a youth can contest. Other than that, there is no difference under whatsoever of the requirements of somebody to stand to contest as a member of parliament and to contest as a president. So therefore, my appeal to the Zambian people, let us stop listening from some of these so-called presidents. We have asked President Mundubile to stop responding because we have requested that he concentrates on trying to unite, to preach unity. This time we are not supposed to be attacking each other as opposition leaders. There's no need. We are supposed to be talking about how do we unite in order to remove HH from power, in order to remove UPND from power. But you have some opposition political leaders who have centered their eyes on President Mundubile. You see the way leadership is. You will only have one leader at a time. And this time it is very clear. To borrow the word of President Kapemba Simbao, who said, this time it is time for Brian Mundubile. And no one will change. Even if we have 17, 20, 30 presidential candidates, some of those presidential candidates, they may not even find the 1,000 supporters that ECZ is looking for. So we don't mind of having so many presidential candidates, but it would have been better that we listen from what the Zambian people are saying. Zambian people are calling for a unity of purpose. And this is what Rosa has done. For us, we must appreciate and thank Rosa leadership that they have taken. Very few would take such a bold step of coming. Let us avoid, Zambia is a Christian nation, let us avoid jealous. Let us avoid greediness. Greediness will not take us anywhere. When we look at some of our colleagues in the opposition leadership, some of them even a provincial committee, they don't have. How can you go in an election, you don't even have a structure, not even a single structure? So what I want to appeal now is that Zambian people should be calm. In as far as me, as the presidential campaign manager is concerned, whether UPND likes it or not, BM Brian Mundubile will be on the ballot paper. Unless they are saying we will kill him ourselves as Tonse. But as long as he's alive and God is keeping him alive, he will be on the ballot paper because he qualifies. No one will stop him. No single person is going to stop Brian Mundubile to be on the ballot paper. Yes, we may live in a country where some laws can be ignored, like what has happened in Parliament, where Neri Muti can easily ignore. Members of Parliament are defecting each and every day, and the Speaker is quiet. For me, I've been a member of Parliament for 15 years, I have never seen this kind of lawlessness, where even the constitutional provision is very clear. When you defect, you cross the floor. Immediately, you don't even need to wait for a ruling, because the constitution is instructive.
And Zambians are watching.
And Zambians are watching. Raping the constitution. A document that we saw, us as members of parliament, we saw to defend and protect the constitution. Today we have a speaker who can rape the constitution with impunity. I have never seen this kind of lawlessness in what is happening in parliament, where MPs can resign and they are still sitting comfortably
And voting
even voting in favor of UPND. Twalia chikanda ya kocha. Vyafyalera ndaba baiko chikufya sata twalia chikanda ya kocha. This is what is happening in this country. But we have an opportunity. Zambian people have an opportunity to liberate themselves so that Brian Mundubile can bring back the rule of law. Brian Mundubile can bring back unity in this country. Brian Mundubile can reduce the poverty levels through Nakurumutinta Nemisepera Pamakas. That slogan should be taken seriously. And for us, as soldiers for Brian Mundubile, and for me, as the presidential campaign manager, I call up all of us in this country. If you are a supporter of BM, let us carry this message of Nakurumutinta Nemisepera Pamakasa. Because this is what is on the heart of our presidential candidate, is to lift the least person, the most vulnerable, to bring them so that they can have confidence. They can also be counted, that indeed I'm also a Zambian who can be counted. So, in winding up, I want to appeal to all the Zambian people that be rest assured that on the 13th August, Brian Mundubile will be on the ballot paper. Nothing is going to stop him from being on the ballot paper. Whether it is UPND, they will make laws. There are no laws that UPND are going to make. Laws are already there, and the laws, it is us as members of parliament who have made them through the Zambian people. Nothing is stopping Brian Mundubile. So we hope that this matter has been brought to rest. Those that are talking about Brian Mundubile being broke, it's an act of jealousy. It's an act of greediness. We must reach to a point where everyone must accept that this time is time for Brian Mundubile to rule the country come 13th August. So for now, I'll end here. Thank you so much.
Yes. Now call chairperson. Before I call on him, let me just make one final appeal to the Zambian people. You know, Honorable Sapa has made a very important observation here. The Zambian people have a choice. You can either choose to sit back in your comfort zones when those that you have charged with the responsibility of managing the affairs of the nation are abrogating the constitution day in, day out. It's a choice you can make for ourselves as citizens. But make no mistake, when you choose to keep quiet when bad things are happening in the nation, you must be prepared to live with the temerity of the consequences of those bad decisions. This breaching of the constitution may look like child's play right now, but when you are going to sit back 10 years from here and see the damage that will have caused to our constitutional democracy, the consequences that you're going to face will be very difficult for this nation to bear. This constitution has a provision that entreats every citizen to a duty to make sure that this constitution is not abrogated, not by any citizen, not by the president, not by any other person, especially those who discharge the constitution, the functions or constitutional mandates. They do it, it is going to destroy the whole of the nation. So the option is yours as citizens. You can either sit back like you are right now and wait for this thing to create the kind of destruction that we expect it's going to create, or you can stand up and call your leadership to order and tell them there's a reason why this constitution exists. if you want to abrogate the constitution, will not give you the next mandate to continue for the next 5 years as our leaders in government. Thank you very much. Chair elections.
Thank you very much. Today is 99 days to go. Elections are on 13th of August. It is marked in the Zambian constitution. Just like qualification and disqualification are marked in the Zambian constitution. What is surprising is the attention that are being drawn. But one thing I want to assure the Zambian citizen, as chairman election, I'm very overwhelmed with the applications that I'm receiving from members of parliament, from the mayors, council chairpersons, councillors. It's very overwhelming. And I want to also appeal to the provincial chairman in Tonse Alliance that we have to make sure that there is not even one council where we are going to miss a councillor, because the response for President Brian Mundubile is very overwhelming. The Zambian citizens have accepted him. We have accepted him. Leaders who are running political parties, presidents of political parties, have accepted him. Today, we can boast of being the largest alliance in the country. That can only happen if a person is acceptable. Without acceptability, we wouldn't have been drawing the numbers that we are drawing today. Therefore, I want to appeal to all provincial chairmen, district chairmen, constituency chairmen, ward chairmen, that we have to prepare for nomination. And I want also to mention here that I'm so happy that all the 10 provinces have given me 150 in all the provinces, meaning we are ready to file 100 delegate supporters to support President Mundubile. Myself, I'm not worried with what story is going around in the nation with regards to qualification of the president, because the constitution is clear, like my colleagues have said. So for me, my only worry is that when we form government, are we going to deliver according to the will of the people, based on the constitution, based on the manifesto that we have presented to the people? I think in opposition, we need to start worrying of what we are going to be telling the people. What alternative are we giving to the people of Zambia? That should be a worry in opposition. Your worry in opposition shouldn't be about your fellow candidate. Your worry in opposition is what manifesto are you giving? What alternative policies are you going to sell to the people of Zambia? So as chairman election, I want to assure the citizen that we have prepared ourselves for the campaign, and we are going to do a proper campaign that is not against the constitution of Zambia, because we are, as Zambian citizens, we respect the constitution. That's the reason why we are seeing credible people coming to join us. It is because they have seen that we respect the law, the rule of law. So thank you very much for those who are listening to us, and be assured that we are going to conduct a powerful campaigns. The election teams are in, and very soon I'll be announcing the campaign team that are going to do the campaign in the provinces, so that they are known, so that you can see that we have got the numbers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
President.
Thank you so much.